The quiet time, the quiet, awkward time waiting for people to join a live. Me glancing all over my monitor on my computer, looking for things to look at. Oh, we got 5 people. Okay. If you're here, say hi. Good afternoon, Connie from Vernon, British Columbia. It's a long ways away from me. Hello, Edie. Good afternoon to you as well. If you're here, please say hello. Tell me what the weather's like there. I am in Michigan, United States of America. It is 72 degrees and partly cloudy. There's a little bit of a chill in the air. There's a tiny breeze. It feels very fallish here, which is good. I like it warm though. That's just me. I'm gonna wait a couple minutes. Hi Cheryl, Billings, Montana. You couldn't find me. Well, you did find me, Linda. I'm right here. Just started. Haven't missed anything. I will apologize in advance. I did not have a ton of time this week to prepare for today's live. So it might be a little scattered. So I apologize in advance, but it should be fun. All right, we've got more than 10. So let's get started. Let me look for comments. Northern Idaho, Ohio. Cool and cloudy. Yeah. I think it's just getting to be that time of year in this part of the country. So I'm going to turn off my face. Hello, everyone. And start talking about what we're doing. Okay. Everybody hear me okay? I'm assuming you can because you're answering my questions. So if there's any problems, let me know. If you're watching on the replay, make sure that you put the questions in the chat and I will answer them later. If you're watching on YouTube, put them in the comments as well and I will answer them when I get to them this afternoon or tomorrow. Also, all of the supplies that I use will be listed on my blog this afternoon. I'll link it here on this live as well after the YouTube video goes live. So this is what we're doing today. We are playing around with some new products to me. They are panel cards. They're basically just a really nice weight of substrate that you can use and make just a single card, so that, or a single-sided card, and they fit in a business size envelope, which is amazing. So you basically just put these together, stick them in an envelope, mail them for normal postage. So the idea with these, I think I'm going to try to make them as flat as possible and not have a whole lot of, blingy things, so they can just go through the machine without getting smushed in the mail. I have to do something with my computer here a second so I can see your comments while I'm playing. You're driving to Michael's to get ink. Well, good for you. You can hear me, Vicki? Good. Good afternoon from Georgia. Hello. Be careful driving and being on your device, Michelle. That's illegal in Michigan now. You can get a ticket for that, which is good because too much distracted driving. So anywho, so we're going to do something with some rice paper. I'm going to do something with some stencils to get this really pretty, can you see that shiny background back there? And then this with an embossing folder and some gold pasty ink stuff. What is this called? Gilding wax. I knew that. I told you I'd be scattered. So anyway, that's what we're going to try to achieve today. Those 3 panel cards. To tell you a little bit about the panel cards, get them from joggles.com. Great resource for all kinds of things cardy and mixed media That's probably not a word, but so I wrote this information down. So they come in 4 different materials. Watercolor, which I'm going to do the watercolor and the craft in another video or a live. So you won't see me using these today because I'm going to save those for later. I've got other ideas for those. But anyway, they come in watercolor and craft. This is called wet cement. It's a really neat gray color. And then they're black, smooth and sturdy, which is awesome. And you get 10 of these for $3.36, which I think is an amazing deal. And then they have envelopes that go with them in all different colors. I just got these 4 because I knew those are colors that this will be Christmas cards, which I think we're going to use the other ones for. But I love those, are my favorite colors, so I'll be using those as well. I'll show you how they fit in there nice once they're all done, but I'm going to set those aside for a second. Might as well just take this stuff out of here. Let's see. I'm still not seeing your comments very well. Yeah, their screen is too big, maybe. Hello from the UK. Hi, Suzanne. I didn't realize you were in the UK. That's cool. Hands-free. All right, good, Michelle. Happy to hear it. All right, let's do... Oh, I need these back, don't I? I do. I need those, that one, and that one. We're going to do the black one first because I want to get that gel medium on there so it can be drying while we're yip-yapping and doing other things. So this is like really thick, sturdy, smooth and sturdy. Get it? Anyway, it's really thick and sturdy, and I've seen Barb use these in different videos, and you can do all kinds of things with these. So I'm going to show you at some point how you can put paint on them and use them on, or this material especially, on the gel press plate. I need to really get a little bit more organized here. Okay, I'm using those stencils. These will be for later. All right, that's for later as well. Don't want too much stuff going on here. That's for later too. All right, palette knife, some transparent gloss. And I just want a little subtle background. I don't want it to be too much. Just a little bit. If you've watched me do anything for any length of time, I am a less is more kind of a girl. I don't like a whole bunch of stuff. I like white space. And these cards are going to be kind of monochromatic a little bit. Born and bred in the UK. I've never been. I've always wanted to go. Maybe someday. We'll see. I'd like to go to Scotland too. I have, I think some of my family is from Scotland originally. It's kind of a mystery with these people, but pretty sure there's some Scottish people in my family tree. I'm just going to put a tiny bit down here. Now there's no rhyme or reason to this. I just want to put things in threes, odd numbers. Science says that people like to see things in threes or odd numbers. So 3, 5, 7. Yeah, you get it. And it is more pleasing to me. So I'm going to throw this in the sink real quick so that it doesn't dry in my stencil. I'm still here, just trying to get water in my sink. I should have did this ahead of time and didn't. Okay, that's soaking. Now I want to carefully pick this up because we are going to be using the back side of this card. Even though we're going to have a panel on it, I don't want anything to really get on the back. It's pretty clean. Wipe this off a minute. That's where this surface comes in handy. Of course, the glass surface works too, so I just keep this on here because it's great for ink smooshing. And that looks like that might be a little bit dirtier than I anticipated. Some building paste there. Okay, I'm gonna do another stencil on here. I'm gonna use these little like coffee stains, tea stain things there. I just have to be careful not to get the corner of my stencil in the wet gel. So I'm just gonna put that kind of right there. This is going to be really subtle. It's just actually just going to be like a little bit of a raised, like a little bumpy in the background, and it'll be shiny, so it's not going to be real obvious. So if it's not perfect, I'm not too concerned. And let's put one over here. I can't spread this and talk real easily. As you can tell, I get quiet. Ooh, I don't want to mess it up. And then I'll put just a little bit down here. Now this panel is not getting trimmed, so I want to make sure that it's nice all the way to the edges. Okay, throw this in the sink. Normally I would go wash that with soap and water when I'm done, but I don't want you to have to wait for that. So I'm going to pick this up again. Ah, don't want it to scoot. Don't scoot. Please don't scoot. Ah, you're scooting anyway, aren't you? That's right. If I can get it before it dries. Okay, there we go. Oh, didn't get anything on there. Awesome sauce. Okay, I'm going to set this aside while you can see what that looks like. So obviously that's not going to be white. It's going to dry clear. But I'm going to set it aside so it can dry flat. Okay, that's it for the, this was just the Ranger, I believe. Yep, texture paste, the transparent gloss. This comes in transparent matte, and it also comes in white. It might come in other things too, but those are the ones that I use all the time. All right. That away. So what's next? I gotta look at what I'm doing next. All right, the next thing that needs to dry. So now we're gonna use this wet cement. And actually, I don't think I'm gonna do it like I did the last time. And I'll tell you why. Okay, where are my cards? Where are my examples? See, I told you, scatterbrained. Okay, so I did this one I would say the inexpensive way, but the messy, long version. So when I did this one, I put down, and I mean, obviously this is, you can do this. I'm not saying not to do this. Let me find it here a second. Oh. I put down a layer of the matte gel medium. It's like glue, but it ends up being matte. So I put a layer of that down, cut my rice paper, put that down, put another layer over the top to get it to stick. And it's matte, so it's not shiny at all. But then it has to dry, and then as it's drying, it kind of warps a little bit because it's wet, and then I had to put something heavy on it. Or I actually blew it dry, or used the heat gun to dry a little bit. And then I put something heavy on it, let it sit overnight, and it's still just a little bit, I mean, I'm fine with it. It looks great. But the way that you can get this done instantaneously, I'm going to show you next. Instead of waiting for all of the medium to dry. So I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use this double tack, but you can also use, hold please. You can also use artist tack. So this is really super, super strong. The whole sheet is adhesive. It's just, the whole thing is adhesive. This is super strong too, but it's just little dots. I've used it before. I think you've seen it. So this would be for like if you had something lacy or You know, like if you were sticking down these things that had little leaves and things and you wanted just the dots on those things, this is really good for that. So I'm not going to use that. I'm going to save that. But you can also use something like Stick It. My only issue with this is that it's really thin. It might not work so great with your, I would test it first on your rice paper. I use this all the time. And it works great. It looks like I have to order some more. All right. Rice paper. I don't have a lot of rice paper right now. I tell you what, I could go broke buying rice paper. It is so pretty. Let's see. You bought gel medium. Can I? Michelle, the different uses for gel medium, it's just like glue. If you think of it as being like Elmer's glue or Mod Podge, or you're using it to stick things down. That's really what you're using it for. And you could use it for, like if you did something watercolor and then you were going to want to do something wet on top of the watercolor, you could put a layer of the gel medium over the top of it, and then it won't let the watercolor bleed once you put more water on it. So you could use it as a barrier that way. The size of the panel is, it did not say. Does it say on here? It's the size of a business envelope, so it's 4 inches wide by 9 1/4 inches long. So when I said, and I think I said in the description that it was slimline, it's slimline-ish. And I'll show you why. So here are my slimline dies. These were created specifically for the slimline size. This would be the main size of the slimline, so it's a little bit bigger than that, but you can still use your slimline dies on these panels if you wanted to cut things, which I actually just might do that instead of using my big cutter when I do the back panels. Okay, so let's pick out rice paper. Now with this, we have to keep in mind that the rice paper is sort of translucent. No, can you see my hand through there? So whatever this color is going to make a difference in what this looks like in the end. So if I put that on there, can you see? There's a little bit of a difference there. If I used white, I put white behind there. See how bright that is compared to that? I want this darker feeling. So I'm totally cool with that. So I just need to. I used to be a quilter. Anybody else have other crafts that you did prior to doing card making? So I used to be a quilter, and so I would buy this beautiful fabric, and I almost never made quilts out of it because it was so pretty that I didn't want to cut into it. So I had piles and piles and piles of this beautiful, especially batik fabrics. I was a huge batik hoarder. So whenever I'd start a new project, I'd go to the craft or the fabric store and I'd buy all new fabric so that I wouldn't touch my stash. I feel the same way about rice paper because it's so stinking pretty. Oh, it's just so hard, even though I know I can buy more. Anyway, anybody else feel my pain? So let's see. The one I did before was this pretty purple butterfly one or dragonfly one. So maybe I want to do a butterfly one now. These ones are really fun to ink up and make different colors. I think I did a video on that, but I should do that in a live sometime. There's another purple one without knitting. Suzanne, you knit? Yeah, I crochet too, a lot. I make baby hats for NICUs. That's what I do in the evening when I don't have to think anymore, is I just sit and crochet little hats. How about that one? That one's pretty, right? Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Gotta use them sometime, right? This makes me buy more. Okie dokie. All right, I'm gonna do right here, I think, this part of it. So I'm just gonna turn this over and trace around it with the pencil, if I can find one. Why am I not seeing a single pencil? There we go. So I just want this just to be a little bit bigger than my panel, because it's easier to trim that way. I need some just plain old scissors. And of course I will save every tiny little piece of this and use it for something. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is put the sticky on my panel, and then I will put the rice paper onto there. So I'm going to do this. I want this to be just a tiny, no, I was going to say a tiny bit smaller, but I want the whole thing, being that we're using the whole panel, I want the whole thing to be covered in glue. Patty, rice paper is new for you? I don't use it a ton, but like I said, it's because I don't like to cut it up. But it's really fun to experiment with. You'd be surprised at how different it acts with different things. I mean, I just watched a video, probably on TikTok. I'm on TikTok a lot looking at craft videos. Of somebody, or maybe it was a YouTube video. Actually, it might have been something that Joggles shared. I don't remember. Anyway, this lady used it, and she used paint on it, and she used an embossing folder after the fact, after her sticking it down. I mean, she did a whole bunch of different things with rice paper. I was really surprised at the different looks. Yeah, that's pretty close. I can trim that off later. I'm gonna put this down here. One thing that I've learned, I've just saw something that popped up in my memories on Facebook recently, that I've been making cards for 6 years, which isn't a long time, but I have learned in the 6 years that, oops, wrong one. Need to just use your supplies, because I was afraid for a long time I didn't want to use my paper, and I didn't want to use my tape and my paint and my different things. And then I just realized it just sits there. Nothing's happening with it, and I'm not learning anything. And it's all, you know, it's cheap, because you get so much of one thing. You know, you get a whole bottle of gel medium, and you get a whole pack of paper, and you're doing just these tiny little projects, and it doesn't, I mean, you'd be surprised at how long your stuff lasts. So don't be afraid of using your supplies. All right, I'm going to use my Fancy Pants Tim Holtz scissors here. If you don't have a pair of these scissors when cutting tape and glue or sticky things, you should get a pair, because they have a serration on both sides that this glue will not stick to. Put these over here so they don't get all gummied up like other scissors can. And, you know, if you balk at the price, think about it. It's the only pair of these scissors you're ever going to have to buy. You know, they weren't not going to wear out. You're not going to have to buy them again. I think they come in 3 sizes. This size, a smaller size, and then a little tiny size. There. All right. So I'll show you. Not a sponsor, just showing you. These are the 3 sizes. The little tiny ones, these are little tiny snippy ones. And they all have that same serrated edge. And these great big handles that are so easy to use. Okay. So I'm going to rub this down one more time. So I want to make sure that it's nice and tight. only going to do half of this because I want to make sure I get this going right before I stick the whole thing down. And this is why I make it a tiny bit bigger than the actual panel so that I have some wiggle room for being crooked. Boom. So pretty. And then we'll trim just with regular scissors on here because this is just paper. You could also use like an X-Acto knife or a craft or utility knife or a craft knife and a ruler to do this on a cutting mat too. Or a ruler and a rotary cutter if you are familiar with that. Oops. Oh, there you go. However long that took compared to overnight. It might be a tiny bit more expensive because this tape is more than a container of gel medium, but it's all done. Okay, so before I start decorating the front, I am going to put a white panel on the back of here. And I think I'm just going to use this biggest die cut here. Yep. So I need to get some white paper. I'm just going to do this on camera so that you're not just staring at my work surface. So this is just 80-pound Nina white, solar white. I'm just going to cut this in half. Actually, I'm going to do another one just so I have them ready. For the other cards. Okay. Move this stuff out of the way. That sun shining through there. I just realized that my overhead light's on. That's got to be annoying. There, that's probably a little better. If this sunshine over here gets in, starts to bug your eyes, let me know, and I will close the blind. So was it better or worse with that light on? I can hardly tell in my viewfinder on my monitor here whether it's better or worse. Now I just know that it's dark. Tell me people, was it better or worse with the overhead light on? Let's do this at the top here. I'm just going to do 4 of these panels real quick so I don't have to worry about doing it later. So if you got questions, ask me now. It's better off? Okay. That's what I thought because it's more natural light coming through. Why didn't you cut all the way through? Well... did not have it all the way in there apparently. Let's try it again. Sometimes it seems like the die cut machine is more of a hassle than it's worth. I don't like measuring. I don't like math. And with this I don't have to do either one. Did that work? That worked. Okay, there's one. I think I only need 3, right? Yeah. For today. Looks good like it is? Okay, good. Make sure I can get it all in there. One more. This one I'll put over here for scrap paper. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me every week. I look forward to it. Doesn't feel like I'm crafting by myself. Sometimes it's fun to craft with other people. All right. You know what? And while I have this here, I think I'm going to go ahead and cut my die cut pieces for these cards. Nah. Am I? Yeah. I'm going to cut the plants that I need. All right, put this back. Well, I can use this because I'm only going to use 80-pound cardstock for these. Get what we can out of there. Okay, back to my beautiful Sizzix flowers. I just love these so much. I think I can get this out of the way. I don't think I'm going to use this anymore. You can always grab it again. So let's see, for this card, I'm using this pack. I'm going to use this one. And then I think it's this one that makes me think of Queen Anne's lace. But actually, I'm cutting that out of gold, so I don't need that one yet. It's out of gold. This one is white. And then I'm doing a little stemmy stem. Do this one too, see if I can fit this all in here. Okay. Nope. You moved. Well, they need to be bent so they lay flat. Shifted. I think we're okay. I think we're all right. And I'm going to go back through one more time just because sometimes these dies can be a little fiddly. I think I said that last time when I used these. They don't always want to cut out. I'll make sure I put them back on the right. Did I go all the way through? Yeah. All right. Packages. I'll use that one in a minute. That's just not you. Problem die cutting. Oh, yeah. Oh. Sometimes. The other day I was trying to use an embossing folder, and I bet you it took me 10 minutes to figure out the proper sandwich of plate and stacks of paper and what thickness of cardboard, and oh, it was so frustrating. I finally got it though. Still, they're fabulous tools. Fabulous tools. Love, love, love my cutting machine. Okay, pop all of these out. Now, you could cut these out of watercolor cardstock and then ink smush them if you wanted to, or splatter some kind of you know, pixie dust or all kinds of things you could do with these for you. But I want the stark contrast. But I think I am gonna, like on this other one, I heat embossed that pink on there, so I think I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna set these aside over here. This is the one I'm using, and then I'm gonna cut out my sentiment. Looking for paper here. Scrap paper in my little bin. There's a piece. I'm going to do the shadow, the drop shadow in white. And the word beautiful in black. Sometimes too, if you're playing with your die cut machine, instead of putting your die cuts in, let me get this garbage off of here, in the same place on your plate every single time. So if you always put them in like that, instead of always doing it that way, you could put them down here. But what I like to do is, and this is to try to help your plate from not warping so bad. I mean, it's always going to warp, but to not warp so bad, is to sometimes put them in at an angle and rotate them, and that also helps them to cut sometimes. So if you're having a problem cutting something and you're putting it in straight, try turning it around and put it in an angle and see if it'll cut that way. Sometimes if you flip your top plate over to the other side, that helps as well. But I will say that when you get a sandwich where it cuts beautifully every time, just try to recreate that every single time. And sometimes, to be honest, there are just dies that the steel isn't cut right, or I wouldn't say right, but it's just, they just don't cut really, really well the very first time. Or sometimes there's little places where there's the steel part here that cuts through. There might be a little place where there's a gap, and so there's a nick there, so it won't peel out properly. So sometimes it's the die, but usually it's just the way that you're putting it through your machine. Which is another reason why you should always buy through reputable companies instead of, I know you can get stuff on some of those places for like $1, but you know, you're getting what you pay for, unfortunately. Okay, so before I forget, because I messed it up last week, I'm going to pop out my dot and sit it over here all the way so I don't lose it. Boy, it sure seems dim. Does it seem dim? Maybe it's just me because the light's off now, but these seasons changing. Not a fan of it. I like the bright sunshine. These days go by so fast. I might have to move this live to a different time. We have more light. Honestly, didn't think it was going to take this long for this one particular card. But we're doing all die cutting ahead of time, so. All right, I'm not going to glue these together right now. I'm going to keep cutting. So those are going to go like that. All right, what's next? Well, the next one is a stamp. I'm going to go ahead and cut my gold stuff now. So this one's going to be gold. Make sure that all fits on there. And then I'm going to do just the word thanks. This is Many Thanks from Penny Black. I've had this since I started making cards, but I checked and it's still available. So if you like it, you can still get it. There will be a link on my blog post. You know what? I'm not even following my own rule that I've told you about. I'm going to cut these out individually so that I so that I don't ruin perfectly usable gold cardstock here. I don't want to mar up this piece. Christmas is coming. I'm going to be using a lot of gold, so I want to save it. All right. There we go. This is a delicate, delicate little font. I just love it. So what's everybody doing today besides watching me do this? That's why you don't quilt, Linda? Math? Yeah, I know. Gal. I don't like math either. At all. That's why most of my quilts were just... most of my quilts were hand appliqué, to be honest, because doing the piecing part... yeah, not pretty. I did make quite a few quilts, but, you know, squares and triangles aren't too hard, especially if you have a pattern. Does anybody watch football? Pro football in the United States? Who's your team? My team used to be the Detroit Lions, obviously, because I live in Michigan. But, you know, they pretty disappointing. You're from Michigan, you know what I mean. Ooh, that cut cleanly. That's nice. So I don't really have a team anymore. I just watch whoever's doing good. Whoever's got a quarterback that's got an interesting story, or I just enjoy watching football just because it's fun to watch the guys play, but no team anymore. Yes, the Seahawks. I used to watch the Seahawks a lot when, who was the quarterback for the Seahawks? That cute little kid. Plus, they got pretty uniforms. It's such a girl thing to say. Oh, I watch football because I like that team because they have cute uniforms, but it's true. I like the colors. And then I enjoy watching the Chiefs because Mahoney is a good quarterback. And of course, because we're from Michigan, we're not allowed to enjoy the Green Bay Packers, even though the Green Bay Packers have always been far superior than the Lions. We're not allowed to say that out loud, so don't tell anybody I said that. Okay, let me put this away. I have one other thing to cut, but I have to stamp something first, so we'll do that in a little bit. Clean up this mess a little bit. We'll do some gluing and some embossing. Just notice how crooked my tabletop is. Russell Wilson, yes. Thank you for that, Connie. Who's he play for now? Does he even play still? I haven't watched it in a while, you can tell. What did I say I was going to do? I'm going to glue this. Okay. I used to be so into it that I actually had my husband put a television in my kitchen when I was canning tomatoes in the fall. Or canning anything, really. So that I could watch it while I was making food. Silly. Now I can't even remember the last time I turned on the television. All right, you're gonna make me do it with my hands, huh? All right, fine. Okay, put a dot right here for the, whatever that little thing's called. It's like a, it's not a tilde, it's like something like that. Does anybody know what that's called, that little dot? He plays for Denver now. Oh, see, that would be a different conference that we see than we see here in Michigan. That's why I don't ever see him. All right, let that dry, and I will heat emboss my little flower here. Now I'm using some Lindy's Stamp Gang Chateau Rose embossing powder. It's this really pretty glitzy, no, it's not glitzy, it's shimmery. Oh, maybe we can see it in the light, probably not way down there. Anyway, and then I'm going to use my little embossing dauber, but you can also just take it. This is how I normally do it, or was doing it, and then you stick your fingers in there. You can do it like that. Don't need a separate thing. I think I got this in a kit or something. I started using it, and it's just a lot cleaner on my hands, but it does the exact same thing. So I'm just putting embossing ink over the whole thing, and I'm going to end up doing 2 coats. So I want it to be very smooth. The more embossing powder you put on, the smoother it is. Well, when it comes to things like this, I wouldn't necessarily say that with, shoot, I got that in there. Let's put it over here. I wouldn't necessarily say that with words. I mean, yes, it's true, but then it makes the words, especially if they're little, it makes them kind of thick and weird. Just have to be careful. Okay, then I'm going to smush this in here. Make sure I get good coating on there. And then put it on the board. Ooh, look at that sunshine. Like if I said, if that's distracting, let me know. Now that I look at that, there's like no embossing powder right on there at all. It's all just the shimmery powder, so I obviously didn't get enough of this on there. So, oh, start again. I just don't want to get that powder in my ink. I'm gonna set that aside. Maybe that's clogged up or something. It's not acting right. So I'm gonna do it the tried and true way, smashing in my fingers. That's better. Okay. It's another reason to do coats. Make sure you get the whole thing covered up. Now, of course, you could use this flower just white on your card too, but I think, personally, I think that any extra little thing just takes the card up a level. All the little tiny details are what make a homemade card so much more valuable than something that you can buy at the store. Okay. Douse it again. I think that, honestly, I think that embossing powder is the most, or the least, the most undervalued product that you can buy for making cards. This stuff lasts forever. You use so little of it. I mean, I don't think I'll ever buy have to replace a color other than clear ever. Or, you know, unless I got an order to make, you know, 1,000 cards or something ridiculous. But, I mean, just to be making at home forever. Oop. Tried to not make a mess there. Still managed to. Little towel. Also learned the Swiffer dusting rag. That's what these are. The little Swiffer things that you put on your Swiffer mats. Learned that from Jennifer McGuire when I very first started. I watched every single video Jennifer McGuire ever did when I first started crafting, because she's like the queen of teaching people how to do stuff. Anyway, that works great for picking up embossing powder. FYI. All right. And I think that's ready. So let's build a card. Actually, let's put our back on here first. That's what I started doing a long time ago. So I could either leave it square like that, which is perfectly acceptable, or I could round the corners off with a corner rounder, or if you have some other kind of a fancy, it didn't cut very well, some kind of a fancy corner cutter, or you could do layers on the back. You could stamp this first and then glue it down. I never know what I'm going to use my cards for, so they're almost all of them are blank. Excuse me, and then I fill them out. Oh, you're going to be difficult, aren't you? Well, I don't have the time or the patience for that right now. So we'll just use the white glue. Comes out better. We could tape this too, but glue as opposed to tape gives you some time to move it around. In case you don't weigh it down perfectly. Perfectly good. Now my desk needs light. Okay, I'm going to turn on the overhead again. And I'm going to see if I can block this sunlight that's in the way. Is that better? You know, I'm going to throw a shadow, but I'll try to stay out of the way of the shadow. I had lights that used to shine down from the sides, but I took them down last year and I haven't put them back up yet. Because most of the time I'm just filming videos here. I'm not doing lives, and so the light doesn't matter. Okay, so there's that. So now it's time to lay this out. Oh, I still need to stamp my little dealie, don't I? I do. So I think we're going to go just like that. So pretty. So I'm going to glue this down. It can be drying while I'm doing the stamping part. Remember, with these cards, I'm trying to keep them flat so that I can just put them in an envelope and mail them without having to pay extra. And so they won't, oops, God dang it. So they don't get ruined in the post office machines. So we're going to do everything flat. I'm going to go ahead and glue this down as well. Oh, you're saying she really is, Rhonda, you're saying she really is the queen of teaching you how to use things? Oh my gosh. Jennifer, if you have not watched Jennifer McGuire's videos, I mean, this isn't a competition here. I'm not like trying to, you know, we're all creators. The woman is a genius. That's all I got to say. I mean, if you do go watch her, make sure you come back over here and watch me too, but you should watch her. She's great. Okay, I'm going to just use, I know I said I don't like to use stamping block for this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I don't want to get my MISTI out just for this tiny little thing. So I'm going to use this Hi There Right there, that tiny little high there. From the Itty Bitty Love Notes from My Favorite Things. The best way to put, I have learned, because I'm not very good at doing this, the best way to get these on straight, not straight horizontally, but straight so that they're not bent like that, is to just sit them on your table and then just pick them up with your block without trying to put them on there, because that's when bad things happen. Okay, now I'm just going to use some black ink. I'm going to trim this down really tiny. So I'm just going to put it right there in the corner. I need my little rag wet. Hang on. It's going to be like an ongoing thing with me that I'm not ever have my little chamois prepared to wipe off the ink. Always, hold on, I gotta go get my chamois wet because I didn't prepare properly. Okay, well, yeah, I'm even sticking it on here crooked, so there you go. All right, I'm gonna dry this for a second because it is pigment ink. I could have used something else like a memento or something, but I don't know where it's at, so. I'm great as well. Thank you, Sharon. It's very nice of you to say. I envy Jennifer in her experience because she's been doing it for so long that she has tried everything and she's used all of the tools, and so she, just thinks that way. Where I still feel like I'm a beginner. I mean, I haven't tried even remotely all of the things that you can do with all of the things. If that makes any sense. But that's part of the fun, is discovering how to use tools and materials in different ways. If you're feeling creative anyway. When you're not feeling creative and then you're required to do something, it's not so fun. Well, I trimmed the top of that a little narrower than the bottom, so let's do it there. That's all I wanted. I believe that's the only, no, I got one more stamping thing to do, but that's okay. This one will be done. So I'm going to glue this. Thank you, Rhonda. That's very sweet. All right. I'm just going to put that right there. It's too bad it doesn't tuck inside there, but it might be hard to see. So we'll just put it right here. Not perfectly straight, but that's okay because it's homemade, right? And then there it is. That card is done. It took way longer than it should have because I did all that other stuff too, but you could certainly do these in batches if you wanted to. So then what are these two colors? That green. Woohoo! So exciting. I love green and blue together. And of course I probably would stamp something on here or, I don't know, glue something. Take some time to figure out how to do that, but then it just fits in here so nicely. Address and mail. Isn't that awesome? Let me see if I can open this back up. I'm still trying to get that natural light in here. There. Okay, so that's how that works. But I'm going to take this out so that this can dry. And at the price of these envelopes, I mean, my gosh, you can have these on hand. They're so inexpensive. You just got them ready to go. All right, so there's that one. Very similar. Just different backgrounds, and that's what's pretty about the rice paper. You could probably get, well, in reality, you probably only get 2 of this size card, but you can get 4 of the A2 size cards out of rice paper. All right. Now, on to, I'm going to, I think we're going to work on this one next because we're still waiting for our gel medium to dry. So I'm going to emboss this panel, but I'm not going to emboss this panel. I'm just going to use regular black paper or regular black cardstock. You could, obviously. But I have a lot of this paper. Cardstock. Cardstock, not paper. Okay. So now we're going to have to fiddle with sandwich. I'm going to use my favorite embossing folder. It's from Spellbinders called Tile Reflection. Looks like old-timey wallpaper to me. I just love it. So I'm going to squirt this with a little bit of water. If I can, oh, right in front of my face. Front and back. No, you probably can't see that, but front and back. Loosens the fibers of the paper, and it takes the impression of the embossing folder better, in my experience. So my platform says for a standard embossing folder sandwich, and I think that these Spellbinders ones are considered 3D, but I'm going to guarantee you that that one's not going to work because it never does. So A, which is this, the embossing folder, and then D. That's this. Now watch, it's going to work beautifully just because I said it won't, which will make me happy. Sorry. My little platinum machine said, yeah, don't smack talk me on TV, lady. I'll show you what's what. Woo! Look at that. Can you see that dimension? Probably not because you don't have any natural light. There, ooh, look at that. Oh, so pretty. Okay. So I'm going to let that sit for a minute because it's got to get trimmed down. Put this away. Guess I didn't need all of these things. Now I'm going to trim this down to fit inside of this panel. So our panel is 4, I believe I said. Yep, 4 by 9 1/4. So I want to take half an inch off each side. So that's going to be 3 1/2. See, I told you I don't like math, right? Half of that, yep, 3 1/2 by 8 3/4. That's what I'm going to cut this to. Get my big honking cutter out, which means I also need this part. That gives me the ability to cut longer things. So I need to cut it 8 1/2. So I'm just going to trim off a tiny bit off of here first. Just to make sure there's no weird edges. And then I need to 8 1/2. Oh, so I should have measured that before. So I need to, apparently that embossing folder is exactly 8 1/2. Perfecto, by 3 1/2. And that should fit right in there. Just lovely. I'm going to figure out a different lighting system before next week, and I can already tell it's annoying me. Can you see? That little border all the way around? Okay. Put this back away. going to, I believe, trying to decide if I want to glue this on here first and then use my emboss or my, I don't know why I can never remember the name of this stuff, gilding wax, or if I want to gilding wax it first and then glue it down. I think I'm going to do that first just in case I run off the edge. I don't want anything to be on that border. Oh, Mr. Sunshine. Oh, looks like it's the other side now. Are you guys as annoyed at me messing with this lighting as I am? There we go. Okay, I just wasn't sure which one I was supposed to be doing. Okay, so the gilding wax, it's a sparkly, I'm not even sure what it is. I probably should have did some research. It says, create a shimmery metallic effect with this rich water-based gilding wax. Perfect for enhancing textures and details on any project. Non-toxic, fast drying, and safe. Anyways, it makes really pretty shiny things. Plus, I was using it for my little, like my little formed things, my little plastic doodads. Works great for that. So anywho, but it also worked great on paper. It's still a little bit damp, but that's okay. It's not going to affect it, I don't think. Don't need much at all. And I'm just going to use my finger. Now my goal is not to cover the entire thing. I just want to highlight. Can you see that? Probably not. Let me try doing it up here closer to the camera. Just barely touching, and it's just, you see? So that's what I'm doing with this. A little bit goes a long, long way, especially on black. Because I'm just trying to touch on the raised parts of this embossed piece of paper. I'm not trying to get the background. Zero sun where you are, Rhonda? Yes, perfect crafting in football weather. Well, it was cloudy a little while ago, and I thought, oh, awesome, it's cloudy. I can keep my shades all open, and there's my little dog being obnoxious. But then sun came out, which is fine. I'm glad the sun's out, but it's just interfering in my window. Get out of my window. Okay. So I don't know if you can appreciate that. You see from there, it looks like it's just all lines going one direction. So let me do this. It looks great here. Like I said, I'm not trying to cover the whole thing. I'm just trying to get some of the raised areas highlighted. Okay. Let's see if I bring some light in here. Yeah, maybe you can see it now. Yeah, I still don't think you're going to be able to appreciate how shiny it is. It's very shiny. It's like you're putting, it's like really fine glitter almost, but it's not glitter. It's hard to explain. You just need to get some and try it. It's fantastic. And it's water-based, so it's easy to clean up. So that's what it is. This one's by Cosmic Shimmer. Clean my finger off so I don't get it on everything. I don't think it's coming off. All right, so now I'm going to glue this down. Let's see if I can get my 3-in-1 coming out of here. Come on. I have yet to find the ideal tip for this glue. I love this glue, but it's like the viscosity of it is so much different than regular white glue that you have to have a I don't want a great big giant tip on it because then it'll just blob out, but I can't put a tiny, tiny tip on it either. It doesn't come out at all. And this one here I thought was going to work, but it's not. Might have to open another jar. This is probably plenty of glue though. I'll resort to the other stuff if I have to. It's just this holds really nicely. Okay. Boy, this doesn't take me any time at all to get past an hour anymore, right? My goodness, when I first started, I was barely making an hour, and now it's like, hang out with me for 5 hours. Thank you, Sharon. Okay, so the next thing for this is some, I cannot remember the name of this paper right now. Oh my gosh. It's been one of those weeks. You know, the flimsy paper you can see through. I'm going to tear some of this. Somebody help me out here, would you? I know the name of this, like I know my own name, but you think I could think of it? Vellum, thank you. Glad somebody's got their brain working properly this week or today. So I'm just going to cut a piece or tear a piece. I want it to be just a little bit bigger than my flower. I want it to be a little bit more wonky. I'm going for organic looking here. There we go. Like that. It's okay if it hangs over. I just want it to be in the background. So anything that you put behind vellum to glue it down is going to show through unless you do a solid piece of adhesive. So you could use that graphics adhesive like I used for the other one. But I want this to be kind of loose and sort of sticking up so it looks more organic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the flower onto it, and then wherever the flower is glued on, or wherever the flower shows through, that's where I'll put the glue on the vellum to stick onto here, and then it won't show through. Hopefully that makes sense. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about in a second. But trust me, if you think it's not going to show through, it's going to show through. And I'm not terribly worried about getting this whole thing covered completely. We just want to tack it down. I'm just going to try to sort of center that in there, kind of, sort of. And then I'm going to let that dry under a block for a minute. Set this aside. I'm going to save this for the next card. If we get to the next card, I might just tell you about the next card, being that our time is running out, and oh, and our stuff's not dry yet. So this is still drying. I don't want to, let me see if, as long as you can see white, that white is still wet. So I might just tell you about the third card. So I thought that this involved more, but it doesn't. So I'm just going to hope that this is dry enough to handle. So wherever there's cardstock, that's where I can put my glue, because it won't show through, because it's behind the flower. Just like that. I'm just going to center this in the card. Well, actually going to go just a tiny bit down, because my sentiment's going to go right there. Like that. Let's put this on here while I'm putting glue on that tiny little thanks. Scissors, tweezers. Great minds, Michelle. I played with coloring the vellum. That works pretty good. You just have to be careful. Like I used some distress inks on it to give it some color, which I might be doing that in the next thing that I do with these panels. Gives a very soft, pretty look. You can heat emboss on vellum. You just have to be careful with it because it's more delicate than regular cardstock. And it will warp and it will burn, so you have to be careful, but you can certainly use it. But I tell you what, I know I just made this card, but if somebody gave me this card as a thank you, I'd be like, what? It's so pretty. I didn't put the back on here, did I? The part where we write the sentiment? Nope. That's okay. We'll do it right now while this is drying. Oops. I'm just going to glue this one. Actually, I think I'm going to tape this because it's just the back. I'll go quicker. You can use tape run or regular little dot tape run or two on this. Like I said, don't be afraid to use your stuff, and don't think that, oh, well, you know, what if that comes apart? I think I've mentioned this before. What if that dries up and it comes apart? Well, whatever. It might. You know, you should be happy that somebody even keeps it long enough for that to happen. Most people use their cards and then it's awesome. So it's okay. It's okay if someone just enjoys your card for a little while and then it goes away. Oh, so pretty. Man, the light. Give me some regular light here. Yeah, I think it's gone behind the trees now, so then now we can see it's a little bit more sparkly. All right. I'm not going to make this card because it's very similar to this one. It's just on this one I use that background with that the gel medium, the glossy gel medium. So that's what all of this is. I tore another piece of vellum and it's just the whole length of this instead of just in the middle. I laid those out and then I used the same stamp set, the Itty Bitty Love Notes stamp set for this I Love You, My Friend. And then this little panel I used I used a die set. This is my new favorite little die set. It's from Pretty Pink Posh called Sentiment Strips. Oh, there we go. There's some light. But it's got 3 different sizes. These are little stitched ones. This would be a 1 sentence one, and they fit these ones from My Favorite Things perfectly. They got this little scallop edged one and then the ones with the little flags. So that's what I used for this. So then I've got I did the rounded corners on here. That's that. So I'm going to do another, I don't know if it'll be a live or just a video, using the watercolor and the craft versions of these cards, these card panels. So you can see different ways to use that. I mean, obviously you use them just like you use anything. Let me talk to you as a human being. There we go. You would use them just like you would. So the watercolor ones you'd use just like you'd use watercolor. And then the craft card stuff, the craft one is a heavyweight one, almost like the Ranger stuff. So you can ink it up, you can paint it, you can do all kinds of stuff with it. So I may not. Maybe just do a video. We'll see. I have no idea what I'm doing next week, but I'll try to be here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for an hour and 20 minutes. If you're still here, you're awesome. You are. You're partial to stitched. I am too. Michelle, I love the little stitched element. Like I said, that's one of those little details that makes it look fancy. You're welcome, Diane. Sorry I was a little bit all over the place today. Honestly surprised I pulled it off at all. So thank you so much for hanging out. And if you make anything Make sure you join the Lady Michelle VIP group and share that with us there. We love to see everything that everyone makes. If you're watching this on replay, ask any questions that you have. And like I said at the beginning, all of the supplies that I use will be linked in my blog post, which I'll put up in just a little bit as soon as the YouTube video goes, once I upload this live to YouTube, so they can have access to it too. And if you're watching it on YouTube, be sure and ask questions there or make comments if you need to. Otherwise, I will see you next week. I hope everybody has a fabulous week, and I'll see you next time. And now I'm going to pretend like I know what I'm doing and stop this live. Okay, where's the stop? Oh, here we go. Oops. Okay.